Hello everyone, welcome to The Chase with Jace. As always, I am your host, Jace Lejeune, and this week, it's about week 4 of high school and college football. We have a lot to talk about. Anyway, we're going to try to make this a short show tonight. Unfortunately, Marcus couldn't join me here tonight, but I'm going to quickly recap, which is a huge victory for the LSU Tigers as they notched the first SEC victory of the Brian Kelly era. So huge victory is an understatement. Really could say a season-saving win in this early in the season, especially just for the team's morale, which is a young football team, and also looking ahead for the fans, the program. It was just a big victory for Brian Kelly. His first SEC victory as well. And we're going to talk about the victory against Mississippi State, which is really this first segment. We're going to talk about LSU football. Then later on the show, I'll show you what my game of the week last week was when I went to on Thursday night. And then, of course, we have our player of the week that we'll show on this show too. So all that and more on this week's episode of The Chase with Jace. And first, we're going to get right into that LSU game against Mississippi State. Mississippi State comes in with a 2-0 overall record. LSU at 1-1 apiece. They're trying to build on the positive momentum from the Southern victory. And then if you look at that game, early on, it was kind of like the Florida State game. It was a little sluggish offensively, and really LSU's offense was trying to get a feel of how the game was going to go, and against that Mississippi State defense. It was actually Mississippi State's ground game that got the first points on the scoreboard early on. They missed the extra point after a long touchdown run by Mississippi State. They get the lead 6-0. And then the offense was still trying to find its rhythm. In fact, for a wide majority of that first half, LSU only had 2 first downs after that first opening drive of the football game. And then it took a while for the LSU offense to settle, probably until the last drive before halftime. And that was when LSU's offense went up tempo, and Jaden Daniels' legs got them moving for a couple of chains, a couple of first downs, and moved the chains, and it really got Jaden Daniels feeling comfortable about where they at, and a couple of short throws, a couple of quick routes run by the receivers. The offense got going when it went tempo, and they actually punched it in for a touchdown. It was a short pass from Daniels to Jeray Jenkins, and Jenkins caught it probably about around the 7 or 8 yard line. He actually bulldozed a couple of defenders from Mississippi State to get in the end zone for that touchdown. That was the first points of the game for the LSU Tigers, and they went to halftime with some positive momentum going into halftime, knowing that they struggled all the first half offensively, but still they're looking down 13-7 going into halftime. It was really how you felt. Even though the offense struggled against Florida State, you came into that second half really only down by 1 possession. It was a 1-possession game at the time, and unfortunately, things went better for the Tigers in the second half. So the score is 13-7 going into the second half as Mississippi State scored 2 touchdowns, but you really felt good defensively. Knowing what happened in the first half, you're going against a high-flying offensive attack with Will Rogers at quarterback for Mississippi State, and you handled your own. Your offense had opportunities to score. They didn't. They really put the defense in bad situations during the game. Both teams went for 4th downs, so it was really back and forth with really both teams gambling a lot on 4th downs. And really, throughout the game, I believe both teams combined for like 2 for 6. I think both teams converted a 4th down conversion during the football game. The LSU Tigers will go into that 4th down conversion later on. But LSU's defense was a key here. The offense was struggling. Jaden Daniels, he had some open receivers in the first half. And really, if you look at the first half, LSU should have been winning the football game after the first half. And we have a pretty good vantage point now that we're up in the press box. But there were some throws for Jaden to hit, and he just missed them for whatever reason. There was the crosser in the end zone. They had Malik Neighbors open. He missed a couple of throws. I believe Jack Bech was open on one play where he was wide open, and Daniels did not hit that one. So Daniels needs to really work on his anticipation and seeing guys downfield, and he tends to struggle with that. Now, when the offense went up tempo, you saw a whole different side. You saw Daniels being more confident, throwing the football, hitting his receivers, going through his first progression, the second progression, and those two aren't there. He's taking off and he's running the football. So when they went up tempo and there was a rhythm there, he actually looked pretty good offensively. And defensively, it was really LSU's defense that kept them in the football game. I mean, we'll talk about it with Jay Ward, what he did. What a game it was for him. He had 11 tackles, led the team in tackles, had an interception late in the football game that we'll talk about too. B.J. Ojulari was in Will Rogers' face all game long. I mean, he had a sack and a half, I believe, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits. I mean, he was in the face of Will Rogers all game, and that's what you want your premium defensive end, All-American, potential first-round pick to be. And B.J. Ojulari was that guy. And speaking of being that guy, Harold Perkins also showed up wearing that number 40 jersey. And he definitely looked like the previous number 40 jersey that we all loved in Devin White. He was a playmaker out there. And as a defensive player with the talent that Harold Perkins has, you need to rush that guy. And they did. They rushed him in different angles and different ways. I love how Matt House was able to use and bring in pressure from different angles. And that really confused the Mississippi State offense that is really prolific in throwing the football, high-octane offense. And Harold Perkins, Matt House did a great job of allowing Harold Perkins to be an athlete. Just go out there and pass rush the quarterback. We want you to just be an athlete. We don't want you to overthink anything. Just be there. Just come in on third down and just be an athlete. And that's what Harold Perkins did. And a lot of times throughout the game, he showed that. Really looking back at it, I think every player on the defense had themselves a big play during that football game. We talked about Ojulari, Jay Ward. Jay Ward was Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC. And also, Ojulari was SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Makai Wingo had a couple stops on 4th down, on 2 fourth-down conversions. He stepped up big. Savion Jones had a sack fumble on Mississippi State's Will Rogers, and that was an important play because I believe Mississippi State was right on the edge of field goal range. They're pretty close to it, and that I believe that knocked him out of field goal range. I got to go back and check on the Savion Jones fumble. Yep, it forced a punt. So that was a huge play early in the football game. And then Gregory Brooks, what can you say? I mean, that move, what Coach Kelly and Coach House did, was to switch those guys like Jay Ward from nickel to safety, and then vice versa with Brooks going from safety to nickel. That worked out because both guys really played their hearts out that night on Saturday night. Really, the whole defense did. And it could have been easy for that defense to say, okay, our offense is struggling. They're not going to help us out. I mean, what can we really do defensively? But they played their hearts out. They played an excellent football game Saturday night. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, it's really insane because Will Rogers, I believe, came into that football game throwing for over 381 yards a game. And LSU only allowed 215 yards passing. Will Rogers led the country in completion percentage. They only gave up 57% completion percentage to Rogers. 1 touchdown, 1 pick by Jay Ward at the end. So defensively, I give them an A+. If I had to give a game ball, it wouldn't be to a player. Even though there are plenty of defensive players that deserve the game ball, I would give it to the defensive coordinator, Matt House. It's not easy when you have to prepare for an offense in a short week like this against Mississippi State's aerial attack. It's hard to prepare for that. And just over really a week period. And we've seen LSU approach this offense differently. over the years past. I mean, last year I believe they rushed 3 and they dropped everybody back and just let all the plays go underneath them and go up and make the tackles. Well, this time they were aggressive, and Matt House was like, okay, let's use different formations, different looks just to throw off Mississippi State and to confuse them, and it worked out. It was a big gamble, and it worked for LSU's defense. Major kudos to Matt House, the defensive coordinator, who called a football game for him. A heck of a game for Matt House, who deserves my game ball after last week. Offensively, you can say what you want to say about the offense. You can say about Jaden Daniels not being able to find the receiver early in the football game in his progressions and everything. But like game in and game out, and we saw it from Florida State, Jaden Daniels got better as the game went on, and Jaden Daniels got better when the game got more tense. Just look at the first game of the year. He drove his team 99 yards on the last drive in about a minute and threw a touchdown pass on the last play of regulation. So he was very clutch on that fourth quarter drive. Give LSU a chance to win or tie that football game against Florida State. You flash forward to last Saturday, Jaden Daniels did the same thing. If you think about it, that 4th down and 4, when LSU was up by only a point, it was the start of the 4th quarter. This was another big swing in momentum because if Mississippi State gets a stop, who knows what would happen. But Jaden Daniels, he trusts his receiver, Malik Neighbors. We're talking about throwing the football when he needed to. He did. He threw a great pass on a slot fade to Malik Neighbors. He actually hooked up with Malik Neighbors 3 other times on that drive alone. I think that was big for not only Jaden Daniels, as he's continuing to show that he's played his best football late in football games, but Malik Neighbors. Flashback to the first game of the season when they played against Florida State. He had the 2 muff punts, and he comes back and has a great football game the last 2 weeks. So Malik Neighbors has shown me, and that's why I asked Coach Kelly. That's why I asked Coach Kelly this question, and you're going to see in a little bit on Monday just how impressed you were with his mental toughness and his mentality, knowing that it's really tough to overcome something like that. When you struggled, you fumbled 2 punts, and you feel like if you've cost your team maybe a victory at that moment, I mean, that's tough mentally for a football player to overcome. But Malik Neighbors has shown me a lot mentally and what kind of player he is, and he's bounced back and then some with some great performances. And I love Coach Kelly's answer. It's football. You're going to overcome it. Your adversity is going to come. It's about how you overcome it, and Malik Neighbors has indeed showed that as a football player. So some of my takeaways: LSU's offense was sluggish for 3 quarters like we saw against Florida State. But when it mattered most in the 4th quarter, they were on a roll late in the football game. It was all sparked by the special teams play by Slade Roy recovering that fumble inside the 10-yard line. Switches to the 4th quarter, LSU scores on 3 consecutive possessions. So they got on a scoring streak too. Remember, coming into the game, LSU scored on 8 scoring drives in a row with Jaden Daniels. And at the end of the football game, they scored on 3 consecutive drives at the end of it. So I just put up an article about this. And by the way, LSU won the football game. 31-16 was your final score. As LSU gets the first SEC victory for Brian Kelly, they improved to 2-1. So I just posted an article about my top 5 takeaways from that football game and why it was so important. And basically my 5 takeaways, and I said already, if you haven't read the article, get a chance to go gridironfootballusa.com and check it out. But my first one is that LSU's defense will keep this team in every football game this year. Based on what I've seen, this LSU defense is scary. I mean, the defensive front is really good. I think the linebackers have played really well. The defensive fronts played really well. The defensive secondaries has really held, and that was really their biggest challenge. I want to see how they adjust to that challenge, and they played phenomenal. They played it as like an LSU DBU type performance. This is like one of the best defensive performances that I can remember, probably going back to really early in the Ed Orgeron era. Like when you go back to the Louisville game and really the 10-0 Alabama game, like early in the Orgeron era, that was as good of a defense performance that I've seen since then against Mississippi State. It was very eye-opening, very impressive. Came away very impressed with the secondary and really the defense as a whole. And knowing how many times they were put in bad positions throughout the football game, whether it was turnover on downs, that LSU got a stop early on the football game on the 4th down, and Jaden Daniels fumbles on the running back exchange. So it could have been easy for this defense just to cave in, but they didn't. They fought the entire 60 minutes, and that's why they won. They ended up winning this football game, and that's why they want to continue to keep this team once we get in the SEC play in every football game as the offense continues to figure it out. Another takeaway is that the LSU's offense is best when it's going up tempo. We see it time and time again. Again, late in the Florida State game, right before halftime, like when LSU's offense is up tempo, that's when they're most effective. We've seen it. Offensive line had some penalties early in the football game. It just seems like when we get deeper and deeper in the play clock, it's like this offense gets a little bit more flustered at times, and it shows. So when they're on rhythm, it's really for any offense, but especially an offense like this, is when they're up tempo in rhythm. Jaden Daniels is decisive. Be decisive either way, and when Jaden Daniels is decisive, whether it's just running or throwing the football, that's when they are most effective, and it showed. And that's what Coach Kelly said. He was asked about the balance between running and throwing for Jaden Daniels, and it's like we gotta be careful with that because he may run. He may throw when he really should run. So they don't want to make him think too much. But if you're decisive, make a play. We all know what Jaden Daniels can do running the football. He's one of the best running quarterbacks in the country. So if he's more efficient throwing the football, which he has been, he's been efficient throwing the football. It's just being more aggressive, being more forceful with the football. He doesn't have to be, like a gunslinger, but he has to see the field and he has to read the field, especially downfield on the deeper throws. He needs to be more confident with that. He showed when he does trust receivers, good things happen. And that leads to another takeaway of mine, that when you trust these receivers, good things happen. Look where he went to on 3rd and 4th down. It was Malik Neighbors, and he had one-on-one coverage. So when you give the football to these receivers, good things will happen. Just ask Joe Burrow when he had all these great receivers. We saw all the great season Joe Burrow had, but with Joe Burrow, he also said, hey, I got Jamar Chase. I got Justin Jefferson. So what I do, I'll throw him to the football because that was the strength of that football team, and this is the strength of this year's football team is wide receivers. So trust in those guys. Trust in Malik Neighbors. Trust in Kayshon Boutte. Trust in Jack Best. Trust in Brian Thomas. Trust in Dre Jenkins, and nothing can go wrong. Another takeaway of mine: special teams is still a big concern. It really is. So special teams, this time it was really the coverage. When you have your offensive lineman Emory Jones, your punter Jay Bramlett being the last line of defense for you, that's not a good thing. But credit where credit's due, and Emory Jones made a freakish athletic play with the big man one-on-one on Xavier Thomas in the open field in the punt return, was able to make really a touchdown-saving tackle. If Emory doesn't make that tackle, that's probably a touchdown for Mississippi State. And then Jay Bramlett did too. He pretty much saved a big return from becoming a even bigger return. And really, LSU call a break on those returns, but you can see that could be a problem once we go more and more into SEC play. And also keep in mind that Mississippi State had a big kickoff return for about 88 yards, which was actually brought back because of penalty. And that penalty doesn't happen, Mississippi State's right back in the football game late in the football game. So those are things that obviously Coach Polian, Coach Kelly, they need to clean up. They're aware of it. They'll address it. And that's something that they really need to cleaned up special teams wise. Now they've gotten better with the field goal execution, the extra point execution, but still that has to be something that they have to clean up. And then finally, LSU has shown why they're one of the most best conditioned football teams when it comes to fourth quarter performances. We saw it in the first game of the season against Florida State. We saw it again this past Saturday. When LSU has shown, based off with their strength and conditioning coach, Coach Flint, that they are in shape and that they've handled strength and conditioning well, because you go back and look, that's when LSU has played their best football. When a team plays their best football in the fourth quarter, that means they are in shape, and that it goes down to strength and conditioning. And that's what Coach Flint and this group has done. When you can run the football for 117 yards on the SEC defense to close football games, and also be able to shut down the opposing offense late in football games, that is a winning formula. And LSU, they play their best football when it matters most, and that's because of the strength conditioning that Coach Flint and his staff has really done with this group. Now, moving ahead, LSU's got New Mexico this week, which is a big game, I would say, for really the backups, because this is one of these games that LSU should win by like 40, 50 points like they did against Southern. Now, this gives you an opportunity to look at the depth even more. So hopefully it's going to be the same case scenario for LSU. You have a quarter of Jaden Daniels, try to get that timing offensively going. I like to see Jaden Daniels try to force more throws downfield. In this game, I want to see him be more aggressive throwing the football. That's what I want to see from Jaden Daniels moving on to New Mexico, and he should do that against New Mexico. Because after this, you start your SEC slate. It starts on the road against Auburn, so you have to be able to hit those plays. You have to be able to make those plays, because defenses are going to try to slow you down as a runner, and that's what SEC defenses will try to do. I want to see this offensive line continue to get experience, continue to get reps with each other, because I know this has been kind of like this offense has been musical chairs really for the most part. So I want to see them, get more chemistry together. I want to see them continue to run the football, get John Emery involved, get the running backs involved, especially Emery, since it's been over a year since he played a football game last week, and he did some pretty good things considering what they were asking him to do. And then defensively, just continue to be what you be. Be who you are, and that is be aggressive defense and force turnovers, force big plays. I like to see the depth of the defense, and they improved on tackling. I like to see the backups when they get in the football game. I like to see them get fresher and just better and just wrapping up, making plays, making tackles. So really the things that you like to see. And I want to see the special teams coverage get better as well. Get Greg Clayton some returns. Want to see him be, I guess I want to say better with his decision making, but be sharper in his decision making when it comes to whether he should return a punt or whether he should call a fair catch. Punt return is really the hardest position really to do in all of football. It really is, when you have to go up and try to field a football with 11 players coming at you full speed. It's really hard to do. So I want to see what LSU does and taking strides this week against New Mexico. But it should be what it is. LSU should go and defeat New Mexico by 49 to 7, 56 to 10. I mean, they should do what they should do against any team that's below Power 5, and that's what they should do. Now, coming up, here are some quotes from straight out the coach's mouth, as I like to call it. So here are some quotes from this week, including one question of mine that you'll see about Malik Neighbors. Here are some notes, some quotes that Coach Kelly talked about on Monday's press conference regarding last week, what was successful in the Mississippi State game, and then looking ahead to Mexico. Check it out, straight from the coach's mouth.
Obviously, any victory in the SEC is a great victory. the way we came back in the second half. I think the overall performance from our defense from start to finish was outstanding, and then we rallied offensively and executed much better down the stretch. We'll look to certainly improve on the offensive performance and its consistency for 4 quarters, and continue to work on consistency in the special teams game. But I really liked I think physically and mentally how our guys stayed with it the entire game. The sense on the sideline for me was really good, that our team was at no time anxious, panicking, didn't believe that they were going to find a way to win the football game. So it's a very good trait to have. As we move forward now, getting another home game, excited to be, in Tiger Stadium again for a third consecutive week. But now we have to look towards persistence and consistency. Looking at a football team now that has a chance to be a good team, you have to have consistency, and that means coming back after a good win and putting together a complete performance. And so that is mental and physical, and that is in how they prepare. So we start that preparation today. We work through the week. Our expectations and our standards are that we have a great week of preparation, regardless of who our competition is, whether it's an SEC competition or not. We need to be consistent in what we're doing, and that will be the challenge this week. The maturity will be on display in terms of how mature we are as a football team, and can we handle success? We had some success this weekend. How do we handle it this week in our preparation? New Mexico is a challenge. We had Zach Arnett's defense and Mike Leach's team this weekend, and that defense is a handful. We saw it. Mississippi State was difficult to handle, especially in the first half. They keep you off balance, and Zach came from the Rocky Long tree, and we go against a Rocky Long defense this weekend. It is a good defense, and they have caused people fits. They're a defense that is in structure, has some similarities. They're allowing 13.5 points per game. Third down, they're outstanding. I think they're fifth in the country. They forced 7 turnovers this past weekend, 7. So you can imagine. I think top 5 in the country in terms of forcing turnovers. So this is a defense that will give you problems if you're not executing at a high level. They'll turn this game into a close game. There's no doubt about that. Offensively, and again, obviously, head coach Danny Gonzalez does a really good job. He's a noted offensive mind. He's always been really good as a play caller, and they're it's a pistol midline option offense, ball control. They've got some talented players on the perimeter, and it's one where obviously they're playing. Obviously good defense and very opportunistic on the offensive side of the ball. So Kendrick is the quarterback from Kansas. He transferred in, athletic, and we'll have to do a really good job with our option responsibility. A little bit of both. I mean, I think, look, this is never one-sided, right? It's never all on the player. It's never all on the coach at this level. I think you have to look at both, right? We got to look at how we can move him around and utilize his talents, and then he's got to continue to work hard and work on his skill set, and continue to work hard in practice. So it's always going to be that at this level, at the next. It's always going to be on the player. It's always going to be on the coaching staff to work together. This is working together as a team. Is how you get better. It's never just one side of it. So Absolutely. We've got to do our job as coaches to move him around and be creative. And he's got to do his end of continue to work hard and be the best player he can be. Yeah, so a couple things. The kickoffs are a direct result of the kicks. The kicks that have been returned have been line drives down the middle of the field. That is going to compromise your coverage. We don't have a chance to get off blocks and get properly covered. Now, can we get off some blocks and make some plays? Absolutely. And we've got to be better there. So this is not all on the kicker. However, it does expose you with those types of kicks. As it relates to the fielding of the punts, we got to coach better. I mean, and I've got to be involved in that and make sure that those guys are absolutely clear in terms of they cannot move their heels, past the 10-yard line. Greg obviously lost track of where he was. He's a young player. We've got to do a better job coaching him there. The one that he tried to field, he felt like it hit one of our players. Look, when you're looking at it, it's close, but again, that goes to awareness, and maybe we could have coached him better. If he saw some Mississippi State players, moving towards the ball, maybe that's the cue that he falls on it. If he doesn't see a Mississippi State player going to it, maybe he stays away from it. And I think we can do a better job coaching that too. Certainly, he adds, something to our pass rush, and you know, we certainly saw that. That's why he, got the opportunity to play out on the edge a little bit, and you saw him inside with some blitzing inside. I think we found a niche for him in terms of where he can help us, and I would say that you're accurate in that he can continue to evolve into that position. Now, is he going to beat out B.J. Ojolari at that position? I don't think so. But he certainly can lend some support to that position and certainly some dime and nickel packages. Yeah, I think the ability to put the pieces in place, moving Jay down has obviously benefited us greatly. Greg going back to the safety position has added a communication level that's really benefited us greatly. I think that in itself has solidified the back end for us. We've been able to rotate in corners and give guys the necessary rest in that end of things. So, and then we're mixing things up. We're not lining up with one post safety the whole time. I mean, we're lining up and showing one post and playing too high and vice versa. So I think schematically we're where we need to be. The nature of having a guy like B.J. Ojolari and Ali Gay, where you can play 4 down and 3 down and not change personnel, is quite difficult sometimes. And we saw that against a very veteran and skilled offense. Quite frankly, they didn't know what they were getting.
Hey, Coach, Jace Lejeune from Gridiron Football. I was just going to ask you about Malik Neighbors and just what can you say about his mentality just from the first game coming off of, the 2 punts against Florida State and then just actually translating that and making some huge plays for y'all down the stretch against Mississippi State, especially in the 3rd and 4th downs.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we hear this all the time, and that he has he's been able to focus and refocus. He's been able to move on to the next play, and that is a great quality to have, especially in the game of football. You're going to have some adversity, and he's had it. He's dealt with it, and he's moved on, and he's stronger for it. He's been really good. We've seen his ability to make dynamic plays for us on the offensive side of the ball, and I just think from that perspective, he's really grown.
So hopefully you enjoyed straight out the coach's mouth. Those are just some of the quotes that Coach Kelly talked about in his press conference on Monday. And now we just get to talk about high school football coming up. So we'll have high school football talk. We'll have our high school player of the week segment. And also, I went to a game on Thursday night, too. So a little bit more about that and more. But you're watching The Chase with Jace. We'll be right back with this quick commercial break. Welcome back to The Chase with Jace, and now we're going to talk about some high school football coming up. So last week, there were some big games around the high school football landscape in the state of Louisiana. I'm going to just talk about some scores that stood out to me and some notes that stood out to me. But there were some streaks that were snapped, either winning streaks or there were losing streaks that were snapped. North Central, they snapped a 29-game losing streak against Thrive Academy. So congratulations to Coach Carruth and getting that win and defeating a 29-game losing streak and finally getting that win. The two states' longest winning streaks were also snapped too, with Zachary's 18-game winning streak was snapped this past Friday against St. Augustine by a final score of 24-20. St. Charles Catholic lost to Turlings Catholic. They had the second longest winning streak in the state, and that is snapped too, as they lost 28-22. So now the longest winning streak now belongs to Westgate and Lafayette. They have an 11-game winning streak now, so they hold the longest winning streak right now. And the car defeated Warren Easton. Now, Ennicar's had Warren Easton's number the last couple of years, but the score this time, well, it was by a lot. And actually, Will, one of our interns, is here with me too, and he was actually there to see Ennicar play Scotlandville. And knowing this score, he was probably happy that Scotlandville actually played Ennicar that close, and that's how bad the score really indicated. 62-20, and the car defeated Warren Easton. And that's not, I'm not exaggerating or anything or misreading the score print or anything. That's 62-20 against Warren Easton. And keep in mind, Warren Easton only lost to Catholic High only by 43-34. So Warren Easton's one of the top 4A teams out there, and have Ennicar beat them by over 40 points. Wow, that's saying a lot. And then Destrehan defeating East Ascension 42-12. East Ascension went up to West Monroe and defeated West Monroe up in their place, one of the toughest places to play in the state of Louisiana. And they go and play Destrehan. Like I said, this is the toughest schedule in the state, and they lose to Destrehan 42-12, one of those teams that is expected to make a run at a state championship this year in Class 5A. Speaking of Catholic High, they played U High, and Catholic High won 31-21. St. Thomas More defeated Brother Martin 30-16. That's 450 victories now for Coach Jim Hightower, the second winningest coach behind J.T. Curtis in the state. Has 450 wins in his high school career. That is amazing. Byrd defeated Calvary 14-7. Southside with an upset. Karen Crow won the 4A state championship 2 years ago, and Southside was able to defeat Karen Crow. Huge win for Coach Fontenot and the Sharks. 49-23. Southside defeats Karen Crow. LCA keeps rolling. Like, LCA is coming off a win against Acadiana. They beat Woodlawn. Now they beat Jesuit. So not only LCA is playing the big boys in 5A, but they're beating them too. 28-25. And yeah, LCA is going to be really tough when we get to the state championships and playoffs coming up in the end of November. Captain Shreve defeats Union Parish 31-21. I know everybody's talking about Trey Holly, Union Parish running back. I think he's about 280 yards away from the Louisiana high school football rushing record. So Nick Brissett, who played at LSU, was at U High. He had the all-time leading rushing record in Louisiana high school football. Now, Trey Holly can probably beat that in one game, so we'll see if Trey Holly does beat that record next week, because he does rush for 260 yards, 270 yards a game. That's why he's in this position to even go for that record, so we'll see about that. Oak Grove, on the most shocking scores, defeats Sterlington 52-20. 52-20 was the final score of that one. And that's going to be a preview into our Player of the Week segment, which we're about to show you in just a minute. Scotlandville defeats Madison Prep, as Will is sitting here right here. And actually, hey, Will, come up here if you want to. We can talk some Scotland. But, Will, talk about that game. 37-6 was the final score against Madison Prep. So you were there for the end the car game, and that was unfortunately, it was a different result. But with Coach Cook, this was his first win as Scotlandville's head football coach, and just being around Coach Cook and jumping from that loss, which was a loss against and the car, and just to refocus that and just move ahead, because the schedule doesn't get any easier. You have to play Madison Prep, which is a really talented team. What made it so, what made the win so good for Scotlandville to go on top against a very talented Madison Prep football team?
I mean, the best thing was that it was Coach Cook's first win, which that for any coach can just feel so much better. But what really stood out to me that game was Zay, the starting quarterback. Right. I find him week after week managing to evade defenders, to extend the play and get out of sacks. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's something I haven't seen in a while in a high school quarterback, or college for a while until Jane Daniels.
Right.
But he has really impressed me. He has had his downsides. I personally think he has thrown. To be fair, that was against Edna Carr, where he did throw some bad throws, forced a couple that led into interceptions, but against Madison Prep, it was a lot of the run game that dominated, and the run game there were 4 total rushing touchdowns, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
3 by their starting running back.
Yeah, Cavante.
Thank you.
Yep.
And 1 by Zay. And over rushing as a team, and as a total, it was just a ground pound. It seemed it didn't feel close in the end.
Yeah, 37-6, and that's saying a lot because the score looked pretty lopsided on the scoreboard. And Zay T says a quarterback in the state. We got a lot of really good. Actually, got Archman, you got Holstein. He was kind of list, but Zay is pretty underrated when it comes to that list. Sure. Any other year, I mean, you're probably one of the top guys in the state, but unfortunately, you don't this type of Arch Manning, Holstein, Ricky Collins. It's crazy the quarterback talent at Sabre. Yeah, and huge win for Coach Cook and Scotlandville. They played 2 powerhouses. Played a team in Oklahoma, which is like one of the best teams in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then they played down the car, which just happens to be like the most dominant high school team
state in the last decade. So
That.
yeah, this is not easy to start off
I don't
your
want to talk
coaching
about
career.
that part.
Yep. So moving on. So I know you haven't done your coach's corner yet and all that, but yeah, what do you think, Coach Cook? What that conversation's going?
It's gonna be he knowing him, even in his losses, he takes a lot of pride in his team because he wants them to do their best, as any coach would, of course. But of course, there's always going to be something to work on, and with every coach's corner, I'm like, what can you work on to fix for the next game? And with this week, it'll probably be not any different, and it's gonna be pretty normal, and that'll set the course for hopefully the rest of his career, just to stay on track to the next game, which doesn't seem to be a problem, but can never not use a reminder.
Well, so you stay put. What we're going to do to wrap the show up is actually we still got more to come, but you'll be here for the next 5 minutes. But you'll be seeing a lot of more content right now. So actually coming up right now that you'll see on the screen is going to be the High School Player of the Week show. This is the third straight week that we've done the Player of the Week show. I appreciate all the coaches out there that they sent about 30 responses to us, which is absolutely insane. So we did a little differently this week. Now there were teams that not teams, but there were players that we could have put in the top 10, and there were we had about 20 performances that were worth a top 5 or top 10 performance. So what we did was the 20 performances were in the hat, and we actually picked out 10 of them, but we also mentioned the other 10. So, but it was just, I think it was so even. That's the way we did it this week. But our top 2 guys were our top 2 guys. We'll see why. But check out week 3 for the third straight week in a row. Gridiron football, Louisiana Player of the Week. Check out and see who.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Player of the Week. Man, it's a big week, guys. I mean, Marcus, it's good to see you again.
Come on, man. I'm here, man. I had to come in for this one.
Yeah, I mean.
I had to come in.
Well, when you get me and you in the same room together, we're going to cut up a little bit. Just like the Randall Corner we used to do.
This is the first time all 3 of us have been on the show together.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Week 3, I think things starting to warm up for us, man.
Yeah, so we had a big week. You guys had a big win this week at Woodlawn. A lot of big wins across the state. We had a lot of guys across the state have some big games. What was it? 30-something coaches submitted Player of the Week?
Yeah, over 30 coaches submitted Player of the Week. So it's going to be a pretty busy show today, I would say, Andy.
Yeah, so we have our top 2 players we've already selected. But because there was such an overwhelming of support, we're going to do things a little bit different this week because you can only have 10. But we've got about 20 that have top 10 performances,
Yeah.
So what we did is I put all the names in a hat. Gonna shuffle them around really good.
Old-fashioned style.
So we're gonna go back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick out the top 8 or top 10 players, and then whoever doesn't get selected, we're gonna go back and we're gonna put them in because any one of these guys, if you're in the helmet, you are a top 10 guy in this week. I mean, there are guys in here with 300 plus yards rushing, guys in here with 250 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. There's a guy in here that counted for 36 points by himself. So if you made the helmet and you don't get called, it's okay. You're in the helmet. Now the top 2 performers, we mentioned those a little bit.
Yeah.
They set themselves way out there.
And we had honorable mentions that really in any other week
Right.
would be
So,
on the list too.
We have a list of 11 honorable mentions we're going to mention a little bit. And any one of these guys, any other week, would have been in the hat to begin with.
Yeah,
Right. Player of the Week.
So let's get started with number 10. Marcus, select number 10.
Let's see you, baby.
Marcus gets
Coming
something
out
on
the
it.
hat. Coming out the hat. Justin Callaway from Eunice, man, big linebacker in the middle. I think he had 26 tackles.
Yeah, you got that right. 26 tackles for Justin Callaway from Eunice High School. 19 assisted tackles, 7 solos, but he was all over the field, 26 tackles. And keep in mind, they also have another linebacker that racks up a lot of tackles, and Hayden DeArbone too. So 26 tackles, yeah. I think Justin Callaway's name was mentioned a lot that Friday night.
Definitely.
Well, let's go with number 9, Coach.
Number 9. Devin Arden.
athlete from
Athlete.
Mamo, Louisiana.
Mammo. Oh, man. Come on, man. We got Mammo in the building.
Mamo, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mamu.
Mamu.
Stats right here, man. Get him. Let's
Devin
get those stats
Arjuan.
up there.
Yep, that's right. So he had 3 catches, not bad batting average. 3 catches, 101 yards, 3 touchdowns. He got every one of his catches.
Every
went
time
for
he
touchdown.
touched it.
Every time he touched
6
it.
points.
He had 6 carries, 36 yards, 2 more touchdowns, and then completed a pass on a 2-point conversion. So 5 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. So 37 points he accounted for by himself.
That's a 3-game average right there in itself. Moving right along, man.
Number 8.
On number 8, Luke Delafield from North DeSoto, quarterback.
Yeah, Luke Delafield, and he had. Oh, now we might say, okay, he only threw for 215 yards, but he threw for 5 touchdowns on like
Right.
14 completions. So pretty much majority of almost time he threw it, it was a touchdown pass.
Okay.
So
Well, this,
5
is gonna be,
touchdowns.
this looks like it'll be another Dennis Dunn product. I mean, you know, guys, what Dennis Dunn has done in the past. But
Evangel.
Had Evangel in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, he had all those guys with the LSU and USC. And so, I mean, this guy could be the next big prospect
Next
for Dennis
one.
Dunn.
Keep your eyes open for him, Luke.
If anybody's a
Delafield.
quarterback guru, it's definitely Dennis
Come on,
Dunn.
It's not like we don't know a quarterback we were sitting in here.
Come on,
Well,
man.
yeah, that's right.
Now, up next, we got Dylan Pikes from Lakeview, wide receiver.
Yeah, Dylan Pikes is another receiver from, I believe, Lakeview, and he had 4 catches, not bad batting average too. 4 catches, 191 yards, and 3 of those 4 catches went for touchdowns. So almost 200 yards receiving on just 4 catches. That's
Come on.
Almost
somebody.
25 yards per reception.
Yeah, come on, man. Almost, yeah. 50 almost, man.
he took advantage of every time he caught it. I guarantee you that.
Good deal. Moving along.
Number
right here.
6.
Number 6. Kevon Johnson from St. Edmund, running back.
As
So,
a
Young
Hey.
guy, 9th grader.
So this one here, he cannot, you know, once you win Player of the Week, you can't win it again. But because of his performance, we put him in the helmet just because of this week's stats. A
Oh,
true
we have
freshman playing, what did he do?
23 carries, 300 yards, 6 touchdowns. Coach Shiver, he texts
Come on.
36 points.
Yeah, 36 points. He's had 781 yards rushing in just 3 games.
And it's not like, a coach, you hear those numbers, you think, okay, they must run the option,
Right.
they must run the ball a lot.
Right.
No, they have a stud quarterback. They actually have a receiver that's looking at going to McNeese or Northwestern State. They throw the ball a lot. Well, I went up with them to Dallas last week when they took on John Paul II. They threw the ball at least 25 times. This kid is for real. If you have not heard this name before, watch out for this kid. A freshman running back. He's going to be the biggest name in the 2026 class or 2025 class. I can't remember.
26.
And
26,
you're right.
Class. He's going to be a big time running back. Keep an eye on this kid.
Kevon Johnson.
So let's go to number 5, Coach.
Number 5, Chase Broussard.
Chase Broussard.
DN from Rap.
Yeah, ERAF.
ERAF.
Yep, ERAF High School. Now, this is a defensive end. 5 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pass breakup. And that's
Come
a
on.
defensive
Come on,
end.
coming from the end, but that's those edge rushers, man, cause getting involved in the game right there.
Let's go number 4, Coach.
Number 4, we got Cody Jackson from Evangel, safety.
Yeah, one of the biggest names out there in North Louisiana as far as
Come on.
recruits go. He's committed to UL right now for the Raging Cajuns. And at the safety position at Evangel, he was all over the place. 6 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and he did it all on special teams too. 100 yards on returns on special teams. So Cody Jackson, there's a reason why the Raging Cajuns really like him.
Guy that could do it all, man.
Oh,
Moving up. Jaden Milton from Berwick, running back.
Yeah, Jaden Milton, wow. I mean, talk about a lot of touchdowns. He was really a touchdown machine that night. 20 carries, 247 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. And, oh, yeah, he had a touchdown catch, too. So that's 6 touchdowns in 1 game.
Man, come on, man. They having careers in one game.
So, Coach, that breaks it down to the number top 2. So we're going to go ahead and read out the last couple of names, the last handful of names here. Like I said, the top 2 we've already got selected.
Okay.
And we're going to name those in just a second. But let's go ahead and take a look at
Some of
the
the other
rest.
performances.
the rest. So we have Shamar Carter, safety from Plaquemine.
In Plaquemine High School, that's actually the second straight week we've had a Plaquemine defensive back, at least in the running for it or mentioned on the show. So this week it's actually Shamar Carter. He had 3 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 interceptions, 130 yards returning on those interceptions. That's more than a lot of running backs did.
Right.
And he had an interception for a touchdown, a fumble recovery, and a fumble recovery. That fumble recovery went for a touchdown. So I'm actually about to lose my breath just going off the stats of Shamar Carter. Crazy. At
Come on,
Plaquemine
man.
High School.
It's
That's
crazy
a crazy
that
game.
he didn't even make the top 10.
Yeah.
Like I said, this week, any other week, any of these names we're calling out right now would be a top 10 performance.
Right. Up next, Lewis Ward, quarterback from Episcopal.
Lewis Ward, I was actually there in person for that game. I actually called his game this past week against Country Day. And Episcopal's known, it's going to be also a preview too. You're going to see some teams that run the football a whole lot, actually have quarterbacks that had prolific performances. As Lewis Ward is 19 of 27, 368 yards, which is indeed a school record at Episcopal.
That's
Had
indeed.
2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and the Knights scored 49 points, and it was all because of a number 9 quarterback.
Come on, man. Up next, Elijah Curry from Homer.
Elijah Curry was a main reason why Homer won the state championship last year in Class 1A, and Elijah Curry is a running back that's really underrated in North Louisiana. He had 22 carries, 293 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns. And this is a guy that led them offensively last year, and he's back for this year. Everybody's talking about Trey Holland and some of the other running backs, but he's a guy that's always put up crazy numbers week in and week out.
Come on. Up next, Jacoby Jackson from Minden, quarterback.
Kobe Jackson is a quarterback, but he was on this list because of what he did running the football. He had 12 carries, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, including an 88-yard run, running the option for Minden. So that's a quarterback doing that.
Come on, man. Up next, Trey Perkins, athlete from East Iberville.
That's right. That's actually one of my dad's former players,
There we
Trey
go. There we
Perkins.
go.
So Trey Perkins is on this list because what he did both sides of the ball. He's a quarterback for the team. He threw for 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had a 4-yard receiving touchdown. And I think what puts the icing on the cake is he had 3 interceptions on defense to
Come on,
add
man.
to the 4 touchdowns.
Man, they got career stats. One game.
Just one game.
That Madden hit stick, coach.
That's what I'm using.
Madden night numbers is absolutely insane.
Up next, we're going with Caden Campus from Kaplan High School, fullback.
Yeah, Caden Campese is fullback for Kaplan High School, and at the fullback position has 26 carries, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. As you can see, Sam agrees that Caden is actually one of the top performers too. So I think that's why we get the support right there from Sam.
Already. Moving along, Josh Seaball from Lakeside, wide receiver.
Josh Seaball's another receiver. Seems like a lot of receivers had 3 touchdowns this week, and that's another receiver that had 3 touchdowns on 8 catches for 167 yards. It was clear that when Lakeside threw the football, that's where they went to.
Come on. All right, up next, Fred Travius Benjamin from Green Oaks, cornerback.
Another cornerback that makes the list. So I believe that's 3 of them already. 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 return for a 35-yard touchdown, and also helped up home some points too. Had a 2-point conversion as well.
Oh man, they rolling. All right, up next we got Jatorius Budget from Springfield, running back.
Yeah, Jatorius Buggage, he had 4 touchdowns off over 246 yards rushing. Yeah, it seemed like he had a pretty good day running the football for Springfield. Actually had 297 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. So that's another guy that's accounted for 30. That was 32 points.
About 32
Yep,
points.
32
right
points.
There, man.
Yep.
Man,
Wow.
These guys having breakout games here. Up next, we got A.K. Burrell from Dutchtown, running back.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a tough loss when they had Dylan Sampson at Tennessee.
Right.
But yeah, AK, he's a playmaker too, and he can play college football as well. 6 carries, 112 yards. 3 of those 6 carries went for touchdowns. Had 6 tackles on defense, 2 pass breakups, and also on special teams, 3 returns for 72 yards. At the 5A level, he was a factor in all 3 phases of the
Man,
football.
that's special. That's special. Up next, we got Trevor Viator
Yep.
from the Cambry safety.
Yep, Trevor Viator is definitely one of the toughest cities to pronounce. Delcom, I know we had this conversation before air. It's definitely a tough one to pronounce. 11 tackles, 1 TFL, 1 pass breakup, 2 interceptions on defense, and a kickoff return recovery on special teams. So Trevor was just a magnet to the football that night.
You know, I'm listening to you, Marcus, and I'm sitting there joking in the back of my head, but man, he's having just as much trouble as I do. And the funny thing is, all 3 of us are from Louisiana. You know, you're from Baton Rouge, I'm from South Louisiana, I'm from the other side of the state.
Man, you got a chance to, but now that's what makes our state so unique, man. You can go in any part as you keep moving around. And there's no one part that's the same.
No. We were
No
talking about that
origin,
earlier.
no origin that's the same. Man,
You got
these names switch up, and you can almost tell where a person is from
Yeah.
when you start reading off their name.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Or here's some of these towns like the Delcom.
yeah.
You know,
I struggle with that too.
Yeah, so
Like-
I mean, I'm a Thibodeau for crying out loud. You know, you're Lejeune. You know,
Yeah,
so
right.
We
right.
have trouble with
Okay,
it.
there
Yeah,
you
I have trouble with these names.
Well, moving forward, we're going to go ahead and name off the honorable mentions. The guys. Look, we want you coaches to continue doing this. Make our jobs tough because this was a lot of fun this week. We went through all these guys and we're like, man, who do we do? I called Marcus. What do you think I do? You know.
It's a good problem to have.
Yes, so keep sending it in. We're going to name off the honorable mention guys. These guys here, again, had it been a different week, any one of these guys would have been in the top 10.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So let's go ahead and start with the first one. Ronnie Crosby, running back from DeRitter High School.
Yeah, 15 carries, 145 yards. And he's their bell cow.
Yeah. You had quarterback Adam Parker from St. Mary High School up in Natchez.
100% completion percentage. 13 for 13, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Come on.
You had Landon Baptiste from Southside over in Lamphier, quarterback.
Yeah, Land Baptiste, he only threw 4 passes, but 3 of them were completions and 2 of them were for touchdowns. And he also had 20 carries, 169 yards, and a touchdown.
Come on.
You had running back Kovota Milligan from Scotlandville.
Yeah, Cavante Milligan, and
I
I
missed
know
that
Will is the
one.
guy
Yeah,
that he
big
covers
game.
for Scoutenville. One of their star running backs, 19 carries, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the win.
Wide receiver Jalen Domingo from Como.
You know that Coach Holm loves Jalen. Another time he's on this list, and he's their playmaking guy. 3 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown.
Linebacker Dante Washington from Opelousas.
Dante Washington was another guy all over the football field. 17 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 pass breakups.
You know Jimmy's going to teach him. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Jimmy's a
Exactly.
defensive guy.
Yep, Jimmy Zachary.
So you had athlete Hayden Moulton from Collegiate.
Yeah, 7 tackles for Hayden and a 70-yard kickoff return on special teams for Hayden.
And I like what the coach is doing over there. I mean, it's a brand new program.
Yeah,
It's been
brand
out for
new.
2 years, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very young program. I like the direction the coach is bringing over there.
Yep.
Running back Ian Vigo from Grand Lake.
Yep.
Vigo Lake Charles.
Right, another 1A team in Lake Charles, and they run the football a lot at Grand Lake. And Ian Vigo had 12 carries, but he made the most of it for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. Any other week, you probably would have been on this list.
Be in the hat.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna butcher this name.
Yeah, Germani.
Dramani Davis from Cecilia, wide receiver.
He had 6 carries for 13 yards and a touchdown, about a 46-yard touchdown reception, and a couple of tackles on defense too. So helping his team out.
Running back Kevin Williams from Acadiana, a former LSU
Yeah.
son.
Yep. So Keelan Williams is actually his dad.
Come on.
Yep. So Kevin Williams, I saw him at
man,
Acadiana
that's special.
on Thursday, and he looked just like his dad. 190 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. And if he played in the second half, he'd be a top 5 guy because really majority of all those yards came in the first half. Yep.
All right, here's your alma mater. Devontae Russell, running back from Glen Oaks.
Come on.
Yeah, Glen
Come
Oaks
on,
guy.
Glen Oaks in the building.
And another guy that would have been in this list, like top 10, if it was any other week. 21 carries for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So the last one of this list is going to be a quarterback, Marquise Gordon from Northeast.
He had 9 carries, only 9 carries, but 181 yards. That's a pretty good average there.
So I know you guys have been watching the show, and you're like, man, who in the world is going to be the top 2 players? So the number 2 guy, he's from this little small school down in New Orleans. It's called Newman.
Yeah.
His first name is Arch, I think it is.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his last name. What starts with an M?
Man? A man?
Manning. Arch Manning, number 2.
Come on,
That's right. That's right.
We're playing over here, Coach.
Yeah.
So apparently, Coach Stewart sent Jace one word on Saturday. Was it?
Yep. Arch, and then
there's some stats.
The stats. I was like, all right, I got your drift, Coach. So that's what it was. And Arch was phenomenal, as he usually is. 392 yards, 4 touchdowns, added in a 36-yard rushing and a touchdown performance. And that actually came back. Like, they were down by 20 at halftime, and they won the game 54-52 against him. And he had 5 touchdowns over 400 yards because of that.
All right, so going into number 1 player of the week. From the big city of Oak Grove, Louisiana, they have all of population of 400 people. That includes 200 head of cattle.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you're right.
But they got some ball players.
But they got some ball players. Man,
yeah, some ball players.
They got state champion. I mean,
in multiple sports.
Right, exactly.
They got some ball
So you actually know this next one because he's worked out with you all summer, all spring and summer. He was part of our RPA.
Yep.
Right.
Well, went all over the countryside, played football for you.
Yep.
Jackson Bradley, quarterback. What did he do, Jace?
Jackson Bradley, and it wasn't like they were playing just, Jimmy Joe, playing on Jimmy Joe out there. They're playing Sterlington, defending 3A state champions. And not only did they defeat Sterlington from a 1A school, but they crushed Sterlington 52-20. And we usually see Oak Grove as a running offense. But Jackson Bradley, he's changing things over there. 19 out of 25. 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, account for 400 all-purpose yards against the defending Class 3A state champion Sterlington Panthers. So Jackson Bradley is this week's Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week.
So again, like last week, we broke it down with a young man out of St. Edmund.
Yep.
Again, Jackson Bradley. Oak Grove is a 1A, 2A school. I mean, I think they just got moved up to 2A this year.
Yeah.
But Jackson's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. He's a young guy playing a big 3A school that's got won a state championship. He's doing the mix again this year, probably win the 3A state. Again, you got another big time program. Coach, you've actually worked with him quite a bit over the springtime. Tell us more about this young man.
Man, this is a guy who basically doesn't have a ceiling right now. I mean, he's standing at about 6'3", 6'4" already as a sophomore. He took the time out this spring to hone his craft at playing quarterback, even though he coming, like we just said, out of a running system. Man, I knew at some point they were going to have to let him throw it. I mean, all the things I've seen him be able to do this spring, all the reads I was seeing him be able to make, and all the information he was able to retain as a quarterback, and then and with his baseball background too as well. I mean, they were coming off a state championship in baseball too as well. And man, I think the sky's the limit for him right here. As we just saying it right now, he's putting it on display right now as we can see it, and we're going to continue to see that for the rest of this year and the next 2 years.
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I mean, I saw you out there with him over the springtime, and you actually have to look up to him. And you're not a small guy either.
No.
If you see his dad about 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, his dad played tight end at Louisiana Tech, so he was like 6'6".
So he got that pedigree already in him, man. And he's a winner, and he's showing he's a winner. He's a leader already, and he wants to be great. And we are seeing him be able to take that team even as a sophomore right now, and they rolling right now.
Oh, they are.
So you saw here first on Gridiron Football, Jackson Bradley, next big name.
Next big thing, baby.
Yeah, so first quarterback we got this year. It's good to get a quarterback back after 2 straight running backs, week 1, week 2. Get the quarterback some love with a quarterback in the house. So
hey, look, it's a new day.
So now let's change paces a little bit. We just made the announcement for the bowl game. We put out round 1 invites already. If you're going through the list here, a lot of the guys we select for round 1 are guys that's listed here.
Right,
so it's no mistake when we start saying who we're going to invite for the bowl game.
Correct.
Like Ronnie Crosby, he made the list. He was one of our round 1 guys from DeRidder, Louisiana. He's the bell cow over at DeRidder High School. 140 yards carried this last week, 14 carries.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. You had a number of these guys. I'm just looking here, and our Sherman Carter from Plaquemine, he was a
Shamar
round
Carr.
one guy.
Yep, he was.
So you have guys like that who made round one. And so I got asked today, so how do we find these guys? Well, first off, round one are guys been in the magazine.
Correct.
Those guys their coaches contacted you or me or now Jace, and they're like, hey, you need to do an article about them. So we start following them. Round two, that's going to be this year's studs. Who's breaking out right now?
Right now.
I can tell you right now, there's a safety breaking out right now. He's had over 30 tackles as a safety, 30 tackles, and multiple interceptions. He's going to be breaking out. I'm going to mention him in here next week when we do round two next week.
Cool. Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and mention that. So this year's bowl game, if you haven't seen it yet, it's going to be in Orange Beach, Alabama. The city has kind of opened their arms to us. The mayor, I was with the mayor last Thursday.
Yeah.
2 hours. They love everything we're doing. They love what we're bringing down there. It's a vacation land. I mean, I went and took a look at the beach. I'd actually never been there,
Right.
and so I went and took a look at the beach. And man, this place is beautiful. I think the kids are gonna really love it. We're gonna get the hotel on the beach. That way, the kids wake up every morning. You and I can have our Mai Tais. No, I'm just joking, Pastor. I'm just joking.
We debriefing.
Right.
But no, I think it's gonna be a great event for us. So if you've already been invited, make sure you reach back out to us. Send us a message.
DM on Twitter.
DM us on
Thing
Twitter.
is, you might want to get it in fast because that second round ain't no.
They're waiting for it.
Spots, huh?
They're waiting for
We're
it.
not holding any spots.
Okay.
I mean, it's gonna be first come, first serve. We're not holding any spots. We're doing this nationally. We've already got kids. We got a big 6'2" center coming from Colorado.
Uh-huh.
His dad has already told me he's coming. I said, well, get the paperwork back to me. So we got a kid. We got him coming. We got a big 6'4" linebacker coming from Virginia or Bristol, Tennessee,
Sure.
Bristol, Virginia, right there on the border. Big old 6'4" linebacker. He's already leading the district in sacks up there coming. So we have top-notch talent coming from across the country. I got a call the other day from a coach from over in Arizona. He's like, Coach, I want to come coach in this thing. I see the talent you guys recruit. I want to be a part of this. This is special.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've coached in it, Coach.
Yeah.
It's a special game.
Yeah, I already know it. Even from last year when we opened it up nationally, and we started getting guys from Florida, from Scambia, guys coming from Texas, that came down, and all those guys going back to spreading the word in their hometowns, and more people are starting to pull in and watch, and it's growing big. So man, obviously, man, here in a second we might have to put two together. But this year, man, you definitely, if you get the invites, you want to go ahead and put it in. If you definitely want to plan on playing, and like we just said, man, it's gonna be a great vacation time during that time too as well.
Jump on the opportunity. As soon as you get an offer, DM us, and we'll get you back an email with all the information in regards to the bowl game.
Yeah, the hotels, the itinerary, everything that is involved. So if you're invited, you might want to jump on board because the spots are filling up fast.
Yeah, they're filling up really fast.
We've already had. I lost count yesterday. I think it was 30-something kids that already spawned back already.
DM'd us right
since Sunday. So today's Tuesday.
It's been a couple days. That's about it.
And it's season rolling, man. It's week 4 already.
I know.
Man,
it's crazy.
It feel like it's just starting, but this thing is rolling
It's
fast.
the middle of the season. I mean, we're fixing our district play next week.
Right now, man, it's been happening fast, and I tell that to my seniors the other day, man. This thing, and I feel like it was the other day, but it was at the beginning of the season. It's gonna go fast, and we're here sitting at week 4, and I guess that's why we started to see so many guys start to get their groove and starting to figure out who they are, who their playmakers are right now. Coaches starting to see who their playmakers are, and more guys starting to be player of the week candidates.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more standout performances each and every week.
Well, that's what's crazy about football. I mean, you had every week. You don't know who's gonna win. I mean, at the beginning of the season, LSU even had so many naysayers out there. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them.
Well, they had to find their groove. They had to find out who they were.
You see?
I mean, you got new line, you got new coaches, you got
Well, when you walk into that stadium, you have a 50-50 shot. It doesn't matter if you're LSU or Louisiana College. You have a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, it is.
Until that last whistle is blown, you just never know what's going to happen.
Well, look at all the upsets we've had so far. I mean, just the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We saw Appalachian State go in and beat Texas A&M.
Right.
So at any given Saturday.
Well, you know that's going to happen.
They had Bama on the road. Bama was on the road.
Texas, Texas couldn't beat Alabama.
They was on the road. So, I mean, you got guys that, new guys coming up. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But when you start getting, especially early, I know we talked about it, man, you never know who you're going to be. But now I think everybody's starting to get the groove of where they are, where their identity is, what they got to do this year. I think we talked about Jaden Daniels and what he's doing
Right.
over there. And I think people were looking for maybe a different offense, but he's been efficient and he's been effective. So that's what we got to start leaning towards and be able to push towards that as we move forward. But I think right now is we are seeing the best football that's going to be played right now because everybody's figuring out who they are right now.
Right. So, I mean, you guys had a big win last Friday night as
At
well.
Carver.
At Carver. I mean, that's a big time win.
Yeah, man, I was big for us to come out and really get off the snide. I know we were 0-2. I still felt good about where we were. I mean, obviously it wasn't, we want to have wins in the win column, but going into this, I'm seeing us getting improved every week. And as we keep moving on, and we find out who these new playmakers are after losing all our pretty much offensive playmakers from last year, other than Ricky, and him finding trust in some of those up and coming receivers and our line starting to gel. So you're starting to see some of those things happen, and we're just getting better and better each week.
I want to ask you about two of your players, your two offensive players, not named Ricky Collins. One being Tremont Douglas II. How is his season progressing coming out? This is his first big time season to actually play the game because he's been gone through some issues the last several years. This is being his first season to play varsity football for you. How's his season been going?
And we'll see him doing well right now. I mean, dating all the way back to the scrimmage game against General Springs, him catching 2 balls for over 100 yards, touchdown, and then coming into last week, catching a big touchdown and catching a couple more balls. So he's starting to get in his groove, coming off of last year being injured, and then really the previous year, having a little knick-knack injury that year. So, I mean, he's getting back up to full speed, and he and Ricky getting on the same page now, moving forward, and I think his confidence going up through the roof, too.
I mean, I've seen that young man play whenever he's healthy. I mean, that young man is a playmaker, difference maker in a game. I mean, he can really, he'll force you to two-man cover him. I mean, that safety on top and that corner on the side, you're going to have to.
10-8, 10-7 speed,
So the second kid I wanted to ask you about, he's undoubtedly one of the fastest kids in the Baton Rouge area, in the metro area. Ryan Brown, big time playmaker for you. What's he doing so far this season, and how is he progressing as a sophomore?
Man, his development is coming along well, man. We're starting to be able to get some JV games in too, man. He if you want to just count JV games from last weekend, Dutchtown, he had about 6-7 catches, about 140 yards, touchdown, and now we're starting to see him move into those varsity reps. We saw him in LCA kind of late in the game, catch a couple balls, make some moves on some guys. I mean, it's almost hard to tackle him one-on-one. And, last game, getting him in there. So now he's just trying to get him in the groove, see how we want to use him varsity-wise, as a 10th grader moving in. But as this season keep on going, man, we definitely putting him in there, letting him get used to the speed of the varsity game, and he's going to be a playmaker for us.
All right. So let's round this out of this show.
right.
I can talk all day long. You guys don't know me. I can talk all day long football-wise. So I mean, this was our week 3.
Week 3.
Player of the week. So the week 3 player of the week is going to recap it. Is going to be
Jackson Bradley.
Jackson Bradley from Oak Grove High School. And coaches continue to send in your players of the week. We definitely want to announce them.
Man,
We appreciate
these performances.
Right. That's what we try to do. Everybody that had a performance here on this list was sent by a coach. So please send. If you have a player that you feel like deserves to be mentioned on this show, please send your nomination, because we go through. We're not just giving out the top player. We're going out through some of the other standout performances that you've given to us.
And make sure you like and subscribe to our social media pages. I'm Coach Andy with Gridiron Football with my friend here, Marcus Rando and Jace Lejeune. Thanks for watching.
Hope you enjoyed that, the Gridiron Football Louisiana Player of the Week. And then another thing I want to show you, too, right before we take a commercial break, is that I went to a high school game, too. I know that you went to our high school games every week. You cover them, write stories about them. And by the way, Will does an excellent job with their stories.
Thank you.
Every day puts a dime in the rough, some school spotlights. So check out the areas that we do a lot of, like Ohio, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Ohio.
4 states I covered are both of the Virginias, Ohio and Illinois.
Yep. So Ohio, Illinois, just real like the Midwest type of region out there. But yeah, check it out. He does a story every single day, and he does a game recap. He covers Scotlandville, so he has a coach's corner we put up on our YouTube channel, and he also does a game recap for Scotlandville every single week. So make sure to check that out at GridironFootballUSA.com. I cover Louisiana as far as high school football when I can cover high school football in Louisiana. Now I have obligations on Friday nights when I call Episcopal games on Friday night. But Thursday, when there's a good game around, I tend to go there to cover for Gridiron. But here's some highlights from a game I went to on Thursday. Last Thursday, it was Acadiana, New Iberia. Acadiana's won 2 of the last 3 state championships in 5A. See what they did against the New Iberia Yellow Jackets that are coming off an impressive win the week before. Check these highlights out.
What's perfect? You want to be third wife? Maybe fourth? I don't know.
Yes, walk down a little bit.
Maybe, good news was, but not
Williams. Carries the Rams, number 6. Jalen Lawrence from the tackle. the sack for the Rams. Touchdown, Rams. Stephen Williams, 55-yard record. Cameron Monette straight ahead. They're going to give him the 43-yard line. Fumble on the play. Maurice Brown and Jalen Lawrence on the tackle. Flags on the play. David Gold on the carry. Tripped up. David Gold on the carry. That'll be a yellow jacket. Caden DeBetta on the carry. Hamilton. Ezekiel Hippolyte. Touchdown, Rams. Cam Monette. Russell Babineau. Tyson. Jonah Goche. Touchdown, Rams. Cedric Moore to carry.
I'm here with Acadiana senior running back Kevin Williams. And Kevin, running like your dad out there here tonight. A couple of touchdowns, I believe 3 rushing touchdowns here tonight against New Iberia. So talk about this performance and just really getting the running game going, because it was really a four-headed monster tonight. 4 running back score for y'all tonight.
Yes, I feel like it all started. Really all started like during the summer. We put in a lot of work during the summer, and it started like during this week. We had a good week of practice, and I feel like that's where it came from.
So out of those touchdown runs, what was your favorite one tonight?
My favorite one had to be the first one. I made a couple good cuts, and I think that's my favorite one today.
So just really talk about the guys with you in the running back rotation, because there's like 4 or 5 of y'all right now. So what is it like to have that loaded running back?
We're really deep in the running back room, and it just feels like it makes you feel good, because anytime any one of them could pop and run easily, and then it just makes your job easier. Yeah, so they're really good. It makes your job really easier.
And give a shout out to the big guys up front, because without them, none of that would be possible.
Yes, sir. They did a really good job. As I said, it started off early in the week. They had a really good week of practice, and they just played phenomenal today. Even the receivers back downfield helped break runs, and linemen came downfield and blocked on the backside. Really good. I'm really proud of them.
Okay, so instant reaction to your performance. What grade do you give yourself tonight?
I give myself probably like a B, around a B. Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you think you need to do in order to get that A?
I know I missed one on that trap. I missed the touchdown. I could have kept running straight. And I just feel like I could have been a more vocal leader today.
And play sharp from start to finish.
Yeah, I just feel like it gave us a little bit of motivation. We lost that game, so it just made us focus and just tighten up, and it just made us better, I feel like.
And then Kevin, once I told you before we did the video that you're actually going to be invited to our Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game, which is going to be in Alabama in December. We'll send you the information and everything, but what does that mean to you, just being invited to something like that?
It means a lot. It just shows that my hard work is paying off in some type of way, and I'm just really thankful, and just thank God.
Well, Acadiana High School running back, he's got the genes, and he showed it off here tonight with a 3-touchdown performance against New Iberia. Congratulations, Kevin, on the victory.
Thank you.
I thought we played pretty well. There's some things we got to work on. I thought we blocked really well early. We were working some stuff on offense. Got to do a little bit in protection, but I thought we blocked really well against the run. Thought we ran the offense well. We got, of course, Keegan played extremely well, but we also got some other backs that I thought that played really well, and we got a bunch of different guys that can help us at different times. So we were good there. Gave up a few big plays on defense, but overall, I thought we played okay.
Kevin Williams and just like 3 or 4 guys stepped. 4 different running backs scored tonight. What is it like to really have, especially the offense that y'all run, to have that loaded running back rotation?
Well, it helps. We run the ball a lot. We also, I think, have the ability to throw the football too. But we've got anywhere from 5 to 6 backs that we were confident in that have a chance to be good backs. So that helps us a bunch. And, you're going to need that throughout the year because we do run the football a lot.
And what is your evaluation on the offensive line and how they performed
I
tonight?
thought they were really good in the run game. We blew a few things in the passing game on a few protections, which is what we're working on right now anyway, because we're going to have to be able to do that in big games. So we'll get better, but I thought we've been a lot better. I thought the offensive line has been really good all 3 weeks, for the most part, but besides a few assignment mess-ups.
And talking about your quarterback here tonight, he actually made some plays and scrambled a little bit and made some plays on the run. So what are your thoughts on how he played tonight?
I thought he did good. He's an ultra talented guy. It's his first start. He's a sophomore. He can throw the football. He can run. First half we missed a few protections, and then we threw a few balls where they had pretty good coverage on it. So I thought he made some good throws in the second half and played well. He played well in the second half last week. So he's a guy that's going to be really good.
Defensively, how do you think those guys play? I know there were a couple at the long 80-yard pass on the deflected pass for a touchdown for New Iberia, but evaluate how your defense played tonight.
They played pretty well except a few big plays. We gave up that big bounce pass. We gave up another big play. We just got to cut down the big plays and had a few penalties. But I think we're getting better. We're going to continue to get better, and the goal is to be playing your best football at the end of the year.
So right now, y'all 2-1, correct, Coach? And so moving forward, what's just the message to those guys, knowing that they got rest tomorrow and you have a chance next week to come in with a long week?
The goal is to get better every week. The goal is to make sure we prepare the right way. I didn't think we prepared as well week one. I thought we've been better and be able to improve on a bunch of different things. So we have the opportunity to compete with anybody that we play.
Thank you, Coach McCullough. Congratulations on the victory. All right, so we'll have our last segment coming up. Coming up, we're going to talk just whatever we want to talk about for the next 5 minutes, college, NFL, anything like that you want to talk about. I know you got a Patriots jersey on you right now, so we'll talk whatever. Maybe not the best right now for the Patriots, so old Belichick. But we'll talk about what comes to mind for the next about 5 minutes. But you're watching the Chase with Jace coming up. We'll talk about some college football, some NFL, so keep up with the Chase with Jace.
Back to the final segment of the Chase with Jace, and we'll talk just a couple minutes of college football and what's going on around the rest of college football. Now, I don't get a chance to watch too much college football recently because I'm at LSU a lot and I'm covering the game. So, especially the last, so every game LSU's played, I've actually been to. I'm going to be at the game this Saturday to Mexico. So we'll be covering that one. But I get kind of like a break. I mean, I'm still covering the road games, but I'm going to be from my home. So that's going to be a lot nicer. So on the road games, I actually get to see a lot more college football. But I just really saw the storylines. I'm not sure how much college football you watch this week, Bill.
I've been trying to keep up, but I've been swamped mainly with trying to make sure my articles come out every day.
Yeah, which you're doing a good job of.
Thank you.
Keep up good work for sure. And really, I saw the top 9 teams in the country pretty convincingly. Now, Arkansas struggled. They won 38-27, and the reason why, because they played against, I think, Missouri State, and the coach at Missouri State is Bobby Petrino, the coach at Arkansas. So there was some tense.
Yep, I can imagine there would be some chemistry, maybe not on the good play.
No, there were definitely a lot of things that were intense in that football game. Arkansas fans didn't take him coming back really well, as you can imagine. But give credit to what credit's due. Coach Petrino coming in a top 10 team, and they actually jumped up to a 17-0 Arkansas, and Arkansas fought their way back, but it wasn't pretty.
Credit for that.
Yeah, credit for that. Florida almost lost. Florida played, let's see, who they played? It's South Florida, and yeah, they survived. They survived by a field goal, and it was actually the field goal. They're up by 3 points, and the field goal was just short. And it was actually the hole was off. The kicker did a great job. He was actually trying to kick the football and get a chance at it. But Florida survived. Now Texas A&M had a pretty rough week this last week, but they bounced back and they defeat a Miami football team, 17-9. So things are starting to settle down a little bit in Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'm still not impressed with that 17-9.
No. Well,
against who again?
Miami.
Yeah. That means nothing to me right now.
Oh yeah, I'm still reflecting on the loss to Appalachian State. Man.
Yeah,
Appalachian State. Yeah, before I go to them, one more thing about Texas A&M is that Max Johnson is a starting quarterback now.
I did see the beginning to this.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of LSU fans out there that are like, glad we got rid of him. But I like seeing any Tigers succeed anywhere. If that means that that's with Bama, okay, bad example. Anywhere but Bama, you're still in my heart.
Yeah, that's right. So Oregon defeats BYU. Texas A&M. Oh, speaking of Texas A&M, Appalachian State. Appalachian State had a pretty 2 good weeks. So they defeat Texas A&M. They get their $1.5 million. But the next week they get game day. They play Troy. They look like they're about to lose to Troy. And then they throw a Hail Mary to get that win. So you can't imagine what it's been like in Appalachian State these last 2 weeks.
If I was a student there and into football, I would be so ecstatic. I would have bought 5 jerseys by now.
I don't know why people continue to schedule those guys. They upset Michigan. They upset Texas A&M. Yep. They almost beat Tennessee. They almost beat Penn State. Like, I don't know why these Power 5 tends to schedule those guys. But, yeah, so be it.
Always the traffic.
Yeah, and just one more note from college football. So Penn State defeated Auburn bad.
Oh, yeah.
It was really bad. 41-12 at Auburn's place at Jordan Hare.
Yeah.
Really shocking. So Auburn has not looked good, and it's getting the wire's getting a little bit rougher for Brian Harsin right now as coach.
Yeah, and I do want to say people are looking worse, looking badly on the SEC as a whole just because Auburn is there.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit not fair because it's Auburn, especially right now. But Auburn is just a mess right now. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, they were really bad. I mean, it's really bad. I'm not sure how long Brian Parsons actually going to last at Auburn, but probably not going to be that much longer. I mean, we've averaged about a coach getting fired every week because Scott Frost got fired 2 weeks ago. Herman Edwards got fired last week. If they lose against Missouri, it might be in the Brian Parsons.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening.
We'll see. Those are just some recaps from college football. This week, there's some interesting games. Obviously, Florida and Tennessee. I think that's where game day is going. So that's going to be a big.
Yeah.
See who's really at the pedestal right now behind Georgia. The SEC, probably behind Georgia and Kentucky. I mean, those are the 2 teams right now in the East. So Tennessee is trying to make their case to be up there. Well, they have to be Florida. So that's a big test for Tennessee. Arkansas. Texas A&M. So
can't wait to see what happens.
That is going to be an interesting one. If Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M do defeat Arkansas, then the rumors are going to go quiet pretty quickly. But if they lose Arkansas, it's going to intensify even. So that's a huge game for Jimbo Fisher.
I can't imagine. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but A&M over this past recruiting season got a lot of 5 stars, and there was a lot of talk about just them throwing money at the players
Yeah.
to commit, and that doesn't seem to be paying off right now. But then again, could just be redshirting them, saving them. I'm not a big fan of A&M, so I haven't been paying attention. So I'm a little bit worried for that. But
Yeah. Well, they showed the side-to-side comparison with him and Kevin Sumlin. It's been about the same as far as record goes, and he fired one guy and gave it a stint to the other guy. About the same product.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. So any NFL notes you want to throw around to wrap up the show? Anything going on that opens your eyes right now in the National Football League?
Well, the Patriots won. That's happy for me.
You're a big Patriots fan, huh?
I'm a big Patriots fan. Grew up a Patriots fan in New England. So
Okay.
that the Steelers are a quality opponent. That the offense can be a little bit shaky, especially with a quarterback like Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
But the defense is top notch, and to get 17 points against that, really good. And
That's
then,
enough.
Yeah, the two comebacks that happened in this past weekend's slate, it was the Ravens and the Dolphins.
That was Tua throwing 6 touchdowns. It's crazy what that offense could potentially do.
Yeah, and the fact that the Patriots kept them to 20 in week 1, that's looking a little bit better
That's
now.
a morality win there.
That's looking a bit better now. And then there was the Jets and Browns. And for what I've sensed in this trend is that for whatever reason, for like the past 5 years, maybe more, the Browns keep losing to the Jets. For no reason whatsoever. The Browns have a better roster on paper right now in every asset. And they have for the past few seasons. And they can't get a win against New York. Maybe the game planning is just spot on every week. And they circle that game in advance, but I don't know why you would.
Jets, J-E-T-S-S, Jets.
Ain't me
Gonna win. And another big comeback was the Cardinals coming back and defeating the Raiders. So that was another one. It was a lot of comebacks, and really the Falcons almost came back after being down 28-30. So
if they came back from that, as a Patriots fan, I would have had to stop making any jokes. I'm glad that they didn't. It would have been really funny to see the Rams go down 0-2 with the Bengals going 0-2 as well.
That was a surprise to Dallas.
Especially with Dak out.
Yeah.
I think that Bengals team is going to be all right in the long term. They just need to kind of figure it out a little bit. The amount of sacks Burrow's been taking, especially after La'el Collins said, "I'm your new bodyguard."
Right. And the investment they really put in their offensive line to get there.
It might, maybe some of it might be a scheme fit, and they'll have to get rid of a player or two in the long run, and I'm talking a few years. But as of this season, I think it just takes some time. And who is their week 1 opponent again?
Cincinnati. That was the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers have a great defensive line. The Cowboys, maybe not as good as the Steelers, but still pretty good
Micah
with DeMarcus
Parsons,
Lawrence and Micah Parsons.
Right.
Almost forgot about him.
Right.
And that was the Steelers with T.J. Watt for most of the game, at least.
Yeah.
So the fact that they gave up as many sacks as they did is a little bit understandable considering who they're going up against.
Yeah.
But still you got to do a better job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm a Saints fan, so it was pretty rough to watch this past week. It was thrilling to see what they did against the Falcons. What they did in week 1. But last week, it was tough. The defense did exactly what they needed to do to frustrate Tom Brady. You see Tom Brady throwing the tablet again. Usually it's like, okay, the Saints want to win the football game. But everything turned the big fight with Evans and Lattimore. And I think really said it was about Tom Brady and all that. I think it was just really frustration. It was frustration that knowing that, that his best buddy, Lattimore, is getting the best of him. So it was just really some frustration. It was more frustration there than him defending. But at least what I thought it would be. And Jameis Winston played hurt. It clearly saw that.
Yeah,
and,
the 3 interceptions.
Three
in the fourth
interceptions.
quarter. That's even
Back
if
to
you're
old
injured,
Jameis.
that's not great.
Yeah.
You have to do better. But at the same time, he has that scapegoat and being like, "Oh, my back, I'm an old person."
Yeah.
But it's in the end, you're being paid the big bucks not to throw 3 interceptions when the team needs it most, but 3 touchdowns, and that goes into a whole separate phase of the game, and I'm aware of that. But you just can't. Simply said.
Yeah, he can't go back to being the old Jameis, and that was the old Jameis throwing 3 picks. Hopefully he's healthier this week. And the defense, I'm fine with. The defense did what they needed to do. Offense, the only positive you can really think or take away from it is that Michael Thomas is still Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
It's still a beast. But besides that, they got a lot of things to work out on the offensive side of football.
I do have to think that if Kamara was there, that would have made at least any kind of difference, both in the passing game and the rushing game, because he's maybe the team's biggest factor for both.
Yeah, right.
But you have to game plan for that. He was shaky throughout practice the week leading up to it, and just got a game plan for that. And they did well for most of the first half. Well, all the first half.
Right.
Technically speaking. But second half talks about just got to continue.
Yeah. So have to see what they do this week. I believe they play Carolina.
They do, yeah.
See what they can do against Baker Mayfield and Carolina Panthers. So, Will, is there anything else that you want to say before we finish and wrap it up right here?
I'm not too worried about the Panthers offense, but that defense, I spend a lot of time looking at them because there are some just really physical guys, very versatile guys. Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, just a bunch of guys that can play anywhere on the field. And that defense is scary. The offense I'm not too scared of because Baker has been shaky since his breakout, what was it, junior year, third year?
Yeah, it was second
sophomore year.
Yeah.
Sophomore, because last year was
right.
And so I think the Saints can pull out a win, but then again, they could have pulled out a win last week.
Yeah, that was a very winnable game.
Yeah.
So easily the Saints could have won that game.
Yeah.
I'm just looking back at it, but 5 turnovers all shoot single time. That's what happened. It was just one of those games offensively. You hit Chris Olave stride, he fumbles the football like being untouched. It's just one of those games. You throw your hands up and say, "Hey, it's not our day." So,
yeah,
it's just one of those things. So LSU, do you have a score prediction or anything against New Mexico? Or you should think that LSU should take care of this as like they did against Southern pretty early.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite as big as a blowout as Southern. I do think the starters get pulled after the first quarter, but I'm still going to say LSU scores a lot more. Just what was the final score to Southern? Like 45-14.
Yeah, and they scored 60. It was like 69.
Yeah,
yes,
I said 45. I was like,
it was 60 points for sure. 37 points was the score record in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it was a lot. I don't expect it to be what they did in the first quarter against Southern like they did. I expect LSU probably at least pull their starters out by half. By second quarter, mid to late second quarter.
Yeah.
I want to see Jaden Daniels attack throwing the football down.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. That's because that's the plays you're going to have to succeed. You can't just run the football all the time.
Yeah.
You got now. I think he's most dangerous when he's about to run. He throws last second. Like you put him on the run, let him throw on the run.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what he needs to do. But
Extending
I want to see him hit guys and have a little bit more anticipation. That's what I want to see. And really, like special teams, I want to see what Greg Clayton does in some of those fielding punts. And he was kind of he was good at fielding them, but he took some chances on like returning what is owned 5, and then like diving on the ball he thought somebody else touched and stuff like that. I want to see the special teams continue to improve, get more consistent. Defense, really defense, continue to work. I mean, they did a great job of tackling from week 2 to week 3, and that's what they need to do against Mississippi State. But those those are one of those games like, okay, get everybody healthy, get the hell out. So that's one of those things. Like if Ojulari plays, hopefully the deep offense is up by enough. It's like, okay, let's put them out first quarter. So that's really what I want to see from this defense. Make sure we don't have any injuries. LSU doesn't have any injuries, and get out the first quarter or second quarter with no injuries. But you can kind of expect like a 49 to 7, 49, 56 to 10, something along those lines. Probably for.
I wouldn't say a 37-point first quarter for sure, but I also wouldn't say like 60 plus points as an end score. I'd maybe I'd say that 49 is sticking with me.
Yeah.
Around there, maybe 56.
Yeah, and we'll see the offensive line get better. They continue to run the football. We'll see them run the football a lot and continue that young offensive line. We got 2 tackles as freshmen, true freshmen. Continue to see those guys get it. Well, Will, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Filling in today. So I appreciate that last second. Make sure to check out Will's articles, my articles, all of our interns as well. Go to GridironFootballUSA.com this week. I know that I'm going to have continued coverage of LSU. I'll also have a game preview for Manny and Newman, which is going to be a huge game this week. And I'll have a post-game article on that game. I'll have a post-game article. I'm going to go to Ascension Catholic in Dunham on Thursday. So I'm going to cover that game on Thursday for Gridiron Football. Can't cover a game on Friday because of Episcopal, but I will write a game report. Jason Associated, our photographer, is going to go to Manny. So it'll give me some scoop. We'll do a story on that. And then also, make sure you go and check out our Player of the Week, too. So we just posted that. So make sure you go to Gridiron Football USA and see who our Week 3 Player of the Week is. And then we appreciate you all high school coaches for sending in your player. And then make sure you'll get another email from me soon, probably at the end of this week, to send in your player for next week. So we're going to continue with that each and every week. And then finally, if you're a player that got an invite from Andy as far as the bowl game, Gridiron Football Bowl game is concerned, please send us a DM. And if you want to play in the bowl game, and then we'll actually send you all the information so you know at the end of December. Orange Beach. Well, for Will, for myself, hopefully you enjoy your football week. I always end the show by saying that, LSU chasing a championship, Saints are chasing a Super Bowl, but it's called. Patriots are. That's why I call it the chase with Jace, because everybody's chasing something. I want to ask you, what are you chasing? Have yourself a good night, and we'll check back with you next Wednesday.